Let me tell you something that will blow your mind. Okay, maybe we'll answer 60% of all the questions about yourself. Why you didn't get the job you want? Why the business was not successful? Personal, professional. Just listen very carefully, okay? Do you want to be rich or you just don't want to be poor? Two different questions, two different answers. People get confused. People try to work out and solve both problems using same solution. They're just trying to be rich. It's not the same. It's not the same story. Just think about it, right? Slowly. Just think about it. Break down the problem. Do you want to be rich? It's a completely different objective versus the objective that you just don't want to be poor. Different skill set, different plan. You push yourself more or less. It requires more time, either spent on either physicality or simply mind games, planning, execution, competition. Because think about it, if you just want to be not poor, there's no competition. There are many people who just live normal life. They're not poor. They just have normal life. They don't compete like crazy, right? So if you just want to have a normal life, not be poor, all we gotta do is just work normal shit, right? Normal work, normal job, normal business. Nothing crazy. Just think about all the people who run like the small bodegas, like small grocery stores, the people who run like laundromats, or gas stations. These are not rich people, but they're not poor people either. So what this is telling you? Well, this is telling you that the game that you're trying to play is completely different based on the objective you have. So once when you understand that, right, when you basically designate the both difference, right, what you really want to do or not do, then it gets too easy, you know? It gets too easy because you kind of understand what you have to do and what you don't have to do. You don't have to compete with 150 different, startups or fucking corporations to get things moving, right? Because if you really want to compete and you really want to be super, super, duper rich, well, then the game you're playing, it's a completely different game. You're not competing with the local grocery store, laundry, whatever, tailor, whatever, bakery, whatever. You compete with people with unlimited resources, people who are willing to take on substantial amount of debt to fund the expansion into BTU and whatever. And they were willing to cheat, scam, lie, manipulate, etc. Right? And you really don't want to do that, right? Because the game is different. That's what I'm trying to explain. And because the game of you just having a good life, not being poor, it's very easy. Once when you actually designate what you want to do, you want to be rich or you want to be not poor, then it's very easy to execute on this because it's very clear path forward, right? You don't want to be poor, so what you going to do? You're going to pick something that is relatively easy, micro, in the local area. You're not living in Chicago, Illinois, and try to open a club, bar, restaurant in Miami, right? So you look in the micro niche. You are going to go on Facebook library, and you're going to look in the local neighborhood who is running ads and for what. It's very easy. You can actually run back historic ad content that was produced from the same companies, and you can see how long these people have been running ads. Quick note, running ads, it's not cheap. It's expensive. Running ads burns through the cash flow. So if these people have been running ads with us 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, these people are getting good ROI. They're getting a very good return on the investment on their ad spend. So this basically means is that your micro research was actually very, very helpful. Now you don't have to guess. You don't have to throw darts at the board. What business should I start? Who do I copy? Who do I compete with? What is my pricing? What is my local target? You can just, when you identify who runs what type of ads, you can just screenshot all the ad creatives, whatever they're using, pictures, videos. You can copy absolutely everything. That offer, the promotions. You can just run business and you can just create a special agent that basically outcompetes them in real time. And I'm not talking about some $400,000 a year, right? Some, you know, I would say a very small margin business revenue. I'm talking about outcompeting everyone else in the neighborhood because you're using AI and they don't. And you know how to identify the edge and they don't. And you don't usually leverage. Most of them they do. And basically you can actually outcompete them without outspend them. And in the world of competition, outspending is always the people think that this is the answer for all the questions. If you can outspend them, you're gonna outcompete them, which is total nonsense. How many companies have gone bust, burning through the cash flow? Just think about how Meta spent $25 billion building the fucking metaverse, and they got absolutely zero ROI. Just think about this, right? Exactly. So you don't have to outspend them to outcompete them. That's what I'm trying to explain. And quick note, Mark didn't outcompete them. He spent $25 billion and he built something that no one wants to use. That was probably one of the biggest mistakes if you want to go this route and analyze this. But his intentions were clear. And this is the intentions of a leader. Whatever you want to think about him, he understands the game. He understands the risks. He's kind of always behind after built Facebook with AI as well. But he doesn't really care about, taking a substantial risk. Especially now with AI, you can just look at the expenditure. The capex on AI, on Meta is probably a little bit less than Google. But the size of a Google with revenue streams is kind of a logical. Whereas with Meta, you don't really so much diversification, right, of the revenue streams, which that's what investors were kind of freaked out when they see the capex on Meta. Again, we went from what do you want to do to how the big boys are actually doing it. That's why I try to give you like a real life examples to understand what I'm trying to say. How the big boys are actually running the psychological trap of what do they want to do. Do they want to compete with OpenAI or they want to be the leaders? None of these AI companies want to compete with the other one. Just think about it. Look at Microsoft, look at OpenAI, right? They didn't compete with OpenAI, they just invest in OpenAI. Look at how the circular financing with NVIDIA, Tesla, and Intel. Just look at how the circular financing eliminates the competition between the same companies, preventing or creating, you can put it differently, somewhat of a cartel phenomenon, which is somewhat legal at this point because what they actually do, they exchange equity for a percentage invested in the company, which is not actually the cartel if you really think about it. But it's very, very interesting. I have videos on financial engineering. You can look at if you want to understand more, but it's very interesting. They decided not to compete. Instead, they said join forces because they decided that they want to be rich. They decided they don't want to be left behind. So they understood that the highest probability for them to succeed is basically to join forces versus competing, which happened previously in many different levels. And most of the companies actually lost everything, right? Minimizing the potential downside by joining forces. Super duper smart.